Alrighty, welcome to Zoot Sports Talk, where we bring you some vintage boxing straight up with no twists. And how's everybody doing out there on this Saturday afternoon? Big storm here on the East Coast. Let's get cozy on the couch and watch some boxing. Fighter spotlight this week will be Mr. Pernell Sweet B. Whitaker. First, we'll be hearing a little audio clip from an interview that I did with Pernell Whitaker, uh, and then we're going to watch a couple of Pernell's fights, pre-championship days. So uh, let's get cozy on the couch and get ready to make that happen. But before we do all of that, let's talk about some current boxing news. So there is some stuff happening. Top Rank had some press releases that worth talking about. The first one, Tyson Fury versus Dillian White, is on. Queensberry and Top Rank are delighted to announce that the WBC and lineal world heavyweight champion Tyson Fury will defend his titles against Dillian White following today's purse bids. Now, this press release was yesterday. A venue and date for the fight will be announced in due course. So you always got to be careful, right? They've announced fights all the time and then they don't fall through. But it looks like Dillian White will finally get a title shot on the biggest stage in the heavyweight division. He's been the number one guy for quite some time. Obviously, he had that loss to Povetkin that he avenged, and although the only real heavyweight fight I'm interested in terms of Mr. Fury is against Usyk, I'm not going to turn off the television if Tyson Fury and Dillian White square off. That's a good fight. That's a fight that's certainly worth our time. That's not an easy fight for Fury. We hope that it's not a pay-per-view, right? Top Rank has been pretty good about not really giving us pay-per-view fights. They did with Crawford recently, and it seems like there's a rash of pay-per-views coming along. When we had some pay-per-view relief for a little while, but then now pay-per-views, fights that are probably not worthy of pay-per-view are being forced down our throats. Actually, there's a Don King pay-per-view tonight. I'm not going to pay for it. And I think they're asking for something like $75 for Keith Thurman's comeback fight. No, thank you. But there is action on ESPN tonight in Top Rank, and they released their weigh-in results and some good-looking fights tonight for us. Some stuff maybe not so good, but let's check out the ESPN Plus telecast starts at 7 p.m. Joey DeWaco and Steven Shaw, two heavyweights in an 8 rounder. That's probably the fight I'm most interested in on the undercard. You got Nico Ali Walsh, Ali's grandson, is fighting. I remember last time around they tried to feature Ali's grandson on the ESPN telecast, the main card, so to speak. But here he's buried on the undercard on ESPN Plus, and I don't like to badmouth fighters, but this guy, Nico Ali Walsh, isn't really very good in terms of ever trying to get to the elite top of the echelon status. At least I don't think so. It's a good. It seems like he's good enough for television interest on undercard fights, but I think sooner rather than later, depending on who they match him up with, he's not going to do well. I just don't think he's very good. He had a lot of trouble in his last fight. On the main card, you got, which will shift over to ESPN at 10 p.m. You got Tiger Johnson versus Xavier Madrid in a welterweight bout, 4 rounder. Giovanni Cabrera versus Renee Tellez, junior welterweights, 8 rounds. That should be Renee Tellez Giron. Sorry, that should be a good fight. And then the big one, the WBC Super Featherweight Title Eliminator, which is only scheduled for 10 rounds, despite being a title eliminator. Uh, Robson Canciano against Xavier Martinez. That's a pretty good fight. So we got some boxing action this evening to sink our teeth into, and I thank you all for showing up. So remember, if you do like what you see on Zoots Sports Talk, become a follower. I'm going to have a special prize for the whoever the 25th follower is of our channel, and you can have a choice between a Russell Westbrook Chase variant. Only 1,000 of these were made. Russell Westbrook when he was on OKC, and for all my boxing fans, I have a copy of Roberto Duran's book. So whoever the 25th follower is will win that prize. So let's get it going. But first, let us play the clip that I did with Pernell Whitaker. He was a guest on my show, Zoots Boxing Talk. Pernell actually contributed to the book I wrote, Tough Man, the Greg Haugen story. Obviously, Whitaker's first title, although it shouldn't have been his first title. His official first title was when he defeated Haugen, and Whitaker gave me some time for the book, and he also agreed to come on my podcast, Zoots Boxing Talk. So I'm just going to play a small clip of that first. So let's get it going.
About it that they belong in Canastota. And our next guest belongs there, and he belongs right up in there. This guy, in my opinion, was the best lightweight champion ever. I think he beats Roberto Duran. I'm probably in the minority about that. And if you listen to some people talk about how he responds to Roberto Duran, maybe Whitaker didn't believe that himself. But I think styles make fights, and Whitaker was a perfect style to beat any lightweight in the history of the game when he was on point. And here he is to give us some of his time. Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. Okay, my next guest is one of the greatest fighters of all time, in my opinion, the best lightweight champion of all time, the best defensive fighter of all time, a bona fide Hall of Famer. It is my pleasure to introduce the one and only Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. Welcome to the show, Pernell.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Pleasure is all ours, of course. Now, can you take us back to the beginning and talk about how you got started in boxing?
Wow. 4 years old now. I have to see how far I can go back. Well, I started boxing when I was 7 years old, and in the city of Norfolk, Virginia. And then for an amateur boxing for 12 years, and won, I guess, just about everything in the amateur boxing that amateur boxer had to offer. And moved on to a professional career of 16 years. Had a wonderful time, and if I could do it all over again, I would.
Yes, and we definitely had a great time watching you, Pernell. You talked about your decorated amateur career. Of course, it was capped off with the gold medal at the 1984 Olympics. Probably the best ensemble of Olympic USA fighters ever, that 1984 team. Can you share some memories? I mean, working with guys like Holyfield, Meldrick Taylor. I mean, from top to bottom, just a killer team, and you were outstanding in those Olympics.
Thank you very much. And all those guys, all 12 of those guys, all 11 of those guys, and counting myself, makes 12. All those guys were like, we were all like brothers. And they, until today, even today, I feel like all 11 of them are like my brothers. So we all, we were close. We were close in that team. Everybody, like I said, everybody was brothers and everybody got along, and we had fun and we supported one another.
Yes, one of the great memories we have watching your fights and the other members of the team, you guys were always there supporting each other. Holyfield was with you when you fought. You were with him when he fought. So it continued. The friendship continued and the support continued for that great team.
Of course, and it carried on into the next level in the professional as a professional, and we all support each other, even though even in the professional, as a professional, we remain friends, and everybody stay close and supporting one another as their fights as a pro and have fun.
Now, when you were coming up, you said you started boxing at 7 years old. You had a long amateur career. How in tune were you as a boxing fan growing up? What fighters inspired you, or who did you like watching as you were a youngster?
Well, when I was young, I liked that 1976 Olympic team with Sugar Ray Leonard, Howard Davis, Spinks brother, John Tate. That was one of my inspirations. Watching that 1976 Olympic team, and then just moving on and saying to myself, maybe one day I'll get a chance to be on the Olympic team, and I know I had to put in the work. I know it was hard work you had to do to get yourself in that position, and so I just challenged myself and I took off.
Definitely. And then you turned pro in 1984, November of 1984, and the famous Madison Square Garden Arena, New York City. If you can, take us back and describe that moment for us.
That was a beautiful moment. It was my first professional fight, and I had to, switch over from the amateurs to the professional way of boxing, and I have, one of the greatest trainers ever. I consider the greatest trainer ever, Georgie Benton.
Right.
And he was able to transform me and, took what I had as an amateur fighter and then translated it into, just tone it down and tune it up for the professional ranks.
Yeah, and Georgie Benton was a great defensive wizard in his own right. When you first met him, were you aware of his boxing ability, of his career as a fighter?
I really wasn't, but I heard about how good he was as I think he was a middleweight,
Right.
pros, and I heard about him, but I didn't really know until I was around the man, and he was like a father figure, and gave me all the things that he gave me absolutely worked for me and worked for my style of boxing.
Yeah, and also in that corner was Lou Duva. I mean, he was also a staple in your corner. And talk a little bit about the compare and contrast Lou Duva and Georgie Benton, having both of those guys in your corner.
Well, you can't really compare two great guys. Lou Duva is one of the greatest motivators and one of the. I mean, he was a man that would stand up for his fighters,
Right.
inside or outside the ring. And definitely inside the ring, he will jump in there and fight for you.
Right.
Lou is more of the guy that amps you up and gets you ready for the fight. George was a technician.
Right.
He knew the punches.
That's best of both worlds right there, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, two of the greatest men I've ever met.
About it that they belong in Canastota. And our next guest belongs there, and he belongs right up in there. This guy, in my opinion, was the best lightweight champion ever. I think he beats Roberto Duran. I'm probably in the minority about that. And if you listen to some people talk about
Alrighty, so the interview stopped and played over. That's just a little bit of the interview that I conducted with Pernell back in 2018. If you want to hear the whole interview, you could send a request for it. Get at me, zoot71 at yahoo.com. Send me an email. Put something in the subject, such as Pernell Whitaker, a boxing or interview request, or something like that. But yeah, I mean, Pernell Whitaker, I'm a member of the International Boxing Research Organization, and back in 2019, we revamped the all time rankings in each weight class and in pound for pound weight class. And Pernell Whitaker was ranked number 4 in the lightweight class. And don't think it was a sympathy vote, because the International Boxing Research Organization members submitted their list prior to Pernell Whitaker's untimely death. It was kind of weird, because he passed away shortly after all of our ballots were due. So it had nothing to do. His high ranking at number 4 had nothing to do with him passing. And for me, my personal rankings, I would rank him as the best lightweight of all time. I mean, I just think at the lightweight division, he was better than Roberto Duran. If I watched extensive fights of both of these guys, and I think Whitaker gives Duran too many fits. And let's not think that Whitaker couldn't handle himself in the pocket. The two fights we're going to watch today clearly shows Whitaker can handle himself in the pocket. I mean, he was very good offensively when he needed to be, and you was going to see him pre-championship days against two very seasoned guys, John Montez and Alfredo Lane, and watch how good he is inside the pocket. He just had more dimensions than Duran. I don't really like to discuss fantasy fights, but for me, Whitaker was not only the best lightweight in the world, but he should have even made it in the best pound for pound list, which he didn't in the International Boxing Research Organization's list. But to me, that's a crime, right? If you are going to talk about what pound for pound really means, and the gist of the pound for pound is supposed to be that if everything else is equal size, who would be the best fighter? And I can't imagine 10 guys being better than Pernell Whitaker. If Pernell Whitaker was the size of a heavyweight, or the size of a middleweight, or the size of a light heavyweight, or he would beat just about anybody on his best day. So at least that's how I feel. So without any further ado, let's fire up the first fight against John Montez. We see Mr. Lou Duver in the back, who Purnell referenced to in our interview, warming up and getting ready. And there you go, Jim Lampley, ABC version of Jim Lampley, pre-CompuBox Jim Lampley. There you go. So this should be a fun Saturday afternoon of some vintage Whitaker. That's his pro debut you're seeing right there.
and extraordinary defensive skill for a fighter of such limited experience. This, a second-round knockout and easy victory later, summer of last year, here in his home area, the Norfolk, Virginia area. There was another impressive second-round knockout over John Senegal. That is the way it has gone for Pernell Whitaker. Today, we are in Hampton, Virginia. Just across
Senegal is also a
the
pretty good trial horse veteran.
all a part of the Tidewater, Virginia area. The crowd here in the Hampton Coliseum will be squarely behind the young lightweight as he continues his professional boxing growth. ABC Sports presents Budweiser Professional Boxing. Today, from Hampton, Virginia, a lightweight match scheduled for 10 rounds between Pernell Whitaker and John Montez. This ABC Sports exclusive is brought to you by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Barbasol Shaving Cream, a great shave at a great price. And by Sears New Century. Come see all the ways we've changed and all the ways we haven't. There is a look inside the Hampton Coliseum at the ring in which Pernell Whitaker faces what will be, to this point in his career, his toughest professional fight. It is a boxing career which began at age 8 when a man named Clyde Taylor took Pernell, put gloves on him, and put him into the ring to continue an impromptu street fight which had begun in the housing project here in Norfolk, Virginia, nearby, where Pernell Whitaker, later called by his friend Sweet Pea or Pete, grew up. And it's a career which blossomed into an amateur campaign which saw him go into the ring more than 200 times, win 2 world championships, a Pan American Games championship, and ultimately an Olympic gold medal. Now, as a professional fighter, Whitaker has found fame and fortune, as this profile, present tense, of a fighter in development will show us. Among 9 American Olympic
And this is the kind of pre-fight coverage that you don't really see much in today's fights. You certainly don't see the announcer hanging right over the fighter's shoulders as they're getting ready.
Everybody in Norfolk is talking about him. He's an excellent fighter, and we all can't wait to see him.
Gracious, means a lot to Norfolk because we haven't had anything like that here before, and with the city trying to grow and all, and trying to get a name for itself, he's just a super fantastic person as far as sports is concerned. C.P. Whitaker, he's a really exciting fighter. He brings a lot of publicity to Norfolk, and I think it'll really be good for the community.
He has rewarded his fans with 7 straight triumphs, and when a broken foot kept him from fighting last December 21, Pernell scored a knockout of a different sort as he quickly rescheduled his planned wedding into his natural habitat.
When Pete approached me and told me that they wanted us to get married in the boxing ring, I asked him if he'd crazy. I wanted to get married in the church.
The wedding was nice, I'd rather been fighting that day, December 21st. I'd rather been boxing, but unfortunately, I broke my foot, broke a bone in my foot, and then we turned it into another fight, and that was the marriage. And the outcome of that was a draw. Both of us raised our arms, so, there was no...
And this fight took place March 9th, 1986.
And 17-month-old Pernell Whitaker.
A long time ago.
Maturity to be gained both inside and outside the ring, and understanding the children is a part of that process.
Now that I have kids, they have to eat well and dress well, so I have to make sure that happens. Then I have a wife that's money hungry too, so I have to take care of her. Her needs and everything.
Whitaker's growth as a human being can also be seen in another walk of life. Surely not many of the students at Norfolk State University would be as comfortable strolling the campus with the school's president. But far-flung travel and an Olympic gold medal have already made this student a citizen of the world. In the classroom, Pernell Whitaker now retrieves the verbal skills and book knowledge he bypassed in a childhood spent fighting in the shadows of Norfolk's housing projects.
Pete initiated this. He had a desire to go to college and to improve himself. He enrolled in Norfolk State on his own. Then he had to sort of drop out because he was away training for the Olympics. After being very successful in the Olympics, Pete recognized that an educational background went along with the territory.
I don't have to go to school. I could just be lazy and sleep all day because I don't, this is my job is boxing, and right now I don't box, every day, and I don't have to when I'm home. I don't have to get up in the morning. So it's interesting to get up and have something to do, like go to school, and it's something I wanted to do anyway because I wanted to further my education.
And while his mind grows at school, the fighter knows his fortune is growing too, owning and acquiring real estate, an experience he might not have foreseen.
I have my own corporation. I have, Sweet Pea Enterprises.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm starting at a young age, and I have a apartment I'm renting out, so I'm getting into the business right now, kind of small. I have a townhouse that I'm renting out. Plus I'm buying another house after this fight. And I have a lot of home equity.
It's a new life for Pernell Whitaker, all tied to his growing equity in boxing's lightweight division. Today, he continues trying to build toward the championship his managers believe he will soon win. And now we are live in the arena as John Montez has already entered the ring, and here comes Pernell Whitaker. The record you see there, 7 wins, 0 losses, 6 of the wins by knockout. Whitaker steps up into the ring, and you hear the roar from the crowd. I mentioned that he is from the town of
Little Billy Ocean as the walk-in music as we see Pernell
the Chesapeake Bay, as I said earlier, but across
getting ready to do his business.
Whitaker as he continues to warm up.
John Montez, good veteran fighter, a lot of experience.
All the men who held the world titles at one time or another. We'll be back right after this.
He's proved he's a force to be reckoned with in the heavyweight ranks. He sports an 8-0 record. 6 of his victories have been by knockout. His next test, slugger Jeff Sims. Live. ABC Sports Professional Boxing Series returns in 2 weeks.
We are back live now, moments away from the start of this fight. Joining me now is our ABC Sports boxing expert, Alex Swallow. And Alex, everyone agrees that it has been an auspicious beginning as a professional for Pernell Whitaker. What are the qualities that make him special in the ring?
Well, I think the thing, Jim, that has amazed boxing people about Pernell is the speed with which he's made the transition from the amateurs to professionals. He has shown right away from that very first fight in Madison Square Garden the ability to sit down and punch with power as opposed to flicking his punches as he did in the amateurs. He's shown the ability to slip punches rather than backing away from the aggression by his opponent. He's shown the ability to move from his natural counterpunching style into an attacking fighter. And he's done all this with a poise that really is amazing for a fighter so early in his professional career. Boxing people are already looking to a showdown between him and the current star of the lightweight division, Hector Camacho, the WBC champion. But before Whitaker is ready for a title fight with Camacho, he has to prove himself against a seasoned 10-round veteran like John Montez, who really represents a big step up in terms of ability and experience. Yes, Whitaker has shown all the qualities that we talked about, but he's done it against 6-round prelim fighters. Today he'll have to do it against a seasoned 10-round veteran, an all-round professional fighter like John Montez. And I think this fight will go a long way towards determining what Whitaker's future will be.
Which brings up a point. Montez has been close to the title before. This is an opportunity for him to reestablish himself some way.
Yes, he has. He's been ranked as high as number 4 in the world, and he never got the title shot he thought he deserved. A win here today would put him in a position for a title shot. His manager, Benny Giorgino, who's managed 3 world champions, thinks the Whitaker people are crazy to take as tough a fighter as John Montez this early in Whitaker's career.
What do you think both fighters have to do in order to turn the bout their way?
Well, Whitaker just has to do what he's done already in his 7 pro fights. Effective combination punching, speed of hand and foot, in and out, put punches together, right hooks, right jabs, and that straight left hand that we saw in the opening. For John Montez, he's a solid, as we said, all-round professional. Can work to the body, can work to the head, puts pressure on you. Benny Giorgino thinks he can force Whitaker out of his natural style, and we'll see how well Pernell Whitaker can adapt today.
It is, in the words of Whitaker's manager, Lou Duba, a crossroads fight. And now you look at the tail of the tape, which reveals one fascinating fact with regard to the two fighters. You will see that Montez has a 4-inch height advantage, and yet despite that advantage,
Like many great fighters, Whitaker had longer arms compared to his height, not in keeping with a guy just a little over 5'5".
And now in the middle of the ring, they get their instructions from referee Al Rothenberg.
Similar to Floyd Mayweather, Marvin Hagler.
Three judges will
Those guys' reach was a little bit out of proportion with the normal reach for their heights.
ring, 19 feet 9 by 19 feet 9. The three knockdown rule is in effect. The bell cannot save a fighter except at the end of the last round. There is a mandatory 8 count on all knockdowns.
Yeah, hold it up a minute.
Familiar figure of Lou Duva there as he watches the gloves being laced on to John Montez here at the last moment. Whitaker's gloves.
For his fighters, Lou Duva was always on the case.
Now Montez is ready to go, and the two fighters prepare for round 1 of a scheduled 10 rounds. The first scheduled 10-round bout of Whitaker's professional career. And as the bell rings, Whitaker is already in the middle of the ring.
And watch Pernell in the pocket. Watch how devastating he is. Might not have the bone-crunching power, but look at the offensive artillery while he's in the pocket.
8 months, and I think they'll both be a little bit tight here in the opening round.
Right in front of his guy, flicking a jab, stalking him. Showing good movement. He's got Montez backing up. Montez trying to get some jabs going. Walks right into her left hand. Look at how Whitaker cuts off the ring. Look at that movement. Goes to the body. All while coming forward.
John in the first round with an uppercut. He has been vulnerable to uppercuts throughout his career. He was knocked down by both.
And he sees everything coming his way. There's another nice left.
Whitaker has shown an ability to deliver the uppercut. There you see the left hook.
Had a lot of problems with hands too. Broke his hands quite a bit.
Whitaker the southpaw against Montez, who is a
Again, this is his 8th pro fight against the veteran guy Montez. And I think you could already see that Whitaker, even in his 8th pro fight, is on a higher level than this veteran of 25 plus fights. Montez is always tough. Look how he cuts off the ring. It's right in front of the guy, able to deliver hard shots. Power punches, if you will. And just a little step back is all he needs, and then he's right back in position. Very agile vertically as well, as you just saw there. Feigning some jabs, looking for the range. And there's the left hand again. Tries to dig to the body. What I'm looking at is a solid offensive fighter. Known for his defense, and you would probably consider him as a narrative as a guy who showcased lateral movement, but you're not seeing any of that in his first round against this veteran Montez. You're seeing beautiful boxing, but it's all in the pocket. There's another big left, another one. Oof. It's beautiful. Okay, that's first round action. We cut the commercials out on this one. Let's see how Whitaker goes about his business in this round. That round he won pretty easily, coming forward the entire time, cutting the ring off well. A lot of good use with the left hand. Now Montez is coming forward a little bit. Whitaker's right there though. Subtle side movement, getting out of the way. Little bouncing. Now we're seeing a little bit of a different element from Whitaker here. But there's the straight left. Now he's coming forward again. He's got Montez backing up. tremendous moving side to side and vertically was Pernell.
Montez, who normally takes the lead, is sitting here waiting for Pernell Whitaker to get off the punches first and looking to counterpunch.
Montez delivering some good shots off the ropes, trying to get Whitaker off him.
Have begun to redden under the consistent tattoo of left-hand punches from Pernell Whitaker. Most of Montez's shots so far have been blocked by Whitaker's glove. The right got through.
Whitaker not as aggressive in this round, but still right there in the pocket, still winning the round. That left hand is really doing a lot of scoring for Pernell.
Could that be a leftover habit from his days as a southpaw, Alex?
And there you get a good look at the size difference. Look how much bigger Montez looks. Pernell's right there fighting with him, boxing beautifully, but right in front of him. Oh, watch. Look at how he cuts off the ring and in position to deliver body shots. Feigning with the jab, depending on that power left hand.
And referee Al Rothenberg sends it back in. Good right to the face.
Pernell covered up well there.
So we come near the close of the second round. And
certainly the boss in there is Pernell Whitaker. And up until he got a little long in the tooth, I think he was always the boss in every one of his fights. Good left to the body. Doesn't forget to go downstairs. See the Georgie Benton influence. And you see it growing in each fight if you pay attention to Whitaker from the start to his championship days. Another hard left to the body. Whitaker's letting loose a little bit more in this round with the left hand. He's feeling it. But not forgetting about his defense. Another hard shot. A guy like Montez is still dangerous. He's still got to be careful. But I think it's clear that there's not much that Pernell Whitaker has to worry about, save for walking into a hard shot. Watch him cut off the ring again. When he wants to cut off the ring, nothing stops him from doing so. Montez goes a little bit low and gets a little aggressive there. And we see Whitaker showcasing some good inside fighting there for a moment. Now, again at distance. Closing the gap, backing off, not letting Montez get in a cheapie, so to speak. There's the left hand again. If you did not hear, Alex Waller just said that this is Pernell Whitaker's first scheduled 10-round fight. 8th pro fight of his career. Already looking like one of the best in the business against a good veteran. Montez ain't going anywhere. He's eating a lot of leather. He's getting outclassed, but he's still there. He's there for the long haul. Pernell Whitaker didn't do too many one-punch knockouts, and you're not going to see that this afternoon in this fight. But he is landing power shots. Don't get it mistaken, especially with that left hand.
young fighter. And so far, he continues.
And look how much taller and bigger Montez looks, and not really a factor. Size is not really a factor in this fight because Whitaker was so amazing. Round 4, moving right along here. Pernell pitching a shutout. I don't think there's any question about that.
In case you have just joined us, appeared, at least to my eyes, to have won the first 3 rounds in the fight.
Through the first 3 rounds, the veteran continues to appear the tighter of the two fighters. Whitaker more relaxed. You see his concentration, which I think is really an important part of his
Focus. Look at those eyes. Look at the focus on the target. Knows exactly when to move out of the way, but he's not running.
He thought it was a lightweight contender. Only 8 bouts into his professional career. There are 3
Definitely more layers, I think, to Pernell Whitaker as a fighter than what the narrative is of him.
That is the WBC championship, the WBA championship held by Livingstone Bramble, the IBF championship.
Oftentimes he was labeled as a boring fighter as well. I don't think there's anything boring about what we're seeing here today. It's beautiful. If you're a boxing purist, this is beautiful. This is the best you could ever see. It's one-sided, so I could see people not being so compelled about watching a one-sided fight. But you got to consider it's one-sided against solid competition, and you just have to appreciate this man's greatness. And obviously, being ranked 4th in the IBO rankings on lightweight, many people who absorb the sport of boxing with passion realize how great Pernell Whitaker was.
Those people who followed Sweeping Whitaker's amateur career could see already, I mean, throughout the first 3 rounds and this round of this
There we see a little stiffer jab now. Try to right hook lead.
almost all of the advancing of this fight.
And I like when they show these angles because you really get to see how Pernell cuts off the ring, how he steps, how he gets out of the way, but he's still in the pocket, still in range. You look at the footwork. And they're not really expanding a lot of energies in constant motion.
Whitaker cutting off the ring, moves Montez into the corner again and goes to work.
Gets his man on the ropes. Tries to go downstairs. Montez does a good job of trying to connect with something wild in terms of the effort, but didn't really land much.
The action beginning to level out a bit here in round 4. Montez has weathered the first 3 rounds, all of which belong to Whitaker. Now it's a little more of a fight. We'll be back with more from Hampton, Virginia after this word from your local station.
4 rounds down. I don't think anybody could find a round for Montez just yet, but he's still hanging in there.
Back in Hampton, Virginia, beginning of round 5. Whitaker in the gold trunks, Montez in the blue. There is a look at heavyweight boxer Pernell Biggs, Olympic super heavyweight gold medalist. Like Whitaker, he is unbeaten.
Obviously, Biggs is another guy who fought on the championship level. Big time Olympic boxer in the 84 team.
All the members of the 1984 Olympic team is unbeaten. And that Biggs fight should be the
And there you see Whitaker bending over,
1984 Olympic team.
delivering a good 1-2, scoring 1-2, not devastating power, but scoring.
With one draw. Steve McCrory had a draw on the undercard of his right.
He lets Montez come forward ever so slightly, and then he takes over again and comes forward himself.
Between rounds,
I mean, has Whitaker been hit with anything solid yet? And he's not running. He is not running.
not to worry about the knockout.
He's right in front of the guy.
If I have to go the distance, I just go. I'm boxing now. Boxing pretty well.
And he can find you at range, those deceptive long arms for the guys barely 5'5.5".
If you were with us before
He
the
can
fight,
find you from
you
distance.
briefly met Whitaker's bride of 3.5 months, Robonda, and there she is as she sits at ringside watching her husband do his work. To two of them married in a boxing ring on December 20th.
Whitaker's management thinks that that marriage has really settled him down, matured him, and made him more appreciative of how important his career is. If he has good form, and it's a nice ball to have, he's almost too good. He dominates his sparring partners in training, and a lot of times he clowns and
Oh,
shows
see, look
but
at
they
the
really want to get
footwork.
serious.
The warning was extended to John Montez.
Watch the angles.
Apparently for backhand punching, slapping.
Another scoring combination at range. Closes the gap.
Montez is considerably more alive now.
Now he lets Montez come forward a little bit, but he's in
Looking on.
no danger.
Whitaker scores again
He
with
could
the
score
left.
again, even backing up. Certainly fight backing up, even though he's coming forward a good percentage of this fight.
Has to put pressure on Whitaker. He's staying on the outside, and he really has to get inside, rough up Pernell Whitaker in order to win this fight.
Hold it. I didn't hear any damn buzzer.
We are back and preparing to begin round 6, and now referee Al Rothenberg, who says that he didn't hear a buzzer, allows the two fighters to commence activity. John Montez in the blue trunks, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker in the gold. The 8th bout of Whitaker's professional career against a tough, experienced fighter, Montez 29-3 coming in.
Left hook that John Montez just missed. He threw with more conviction than any punch he has thrown thus far in the fight. He just has to get inside more. He's out of range. He remains out of range. He has to move in order to be able to have any chance of hitting with him.
And I don't think Montez is all that passive or I mean, maybe he's confused, but the reason why it doesn't appear like he's committing to hard shots is because Whitaker is frustrating the hell out of him and firing power punches his way nonstop. Tough to deal with.
He seems reasonably relaxed. I do think both fighters are tight, and I think they're both showing the effect of the layoffs we referred to at the top of the show. Whitaker has not been as impressive as he has been in his first 7 fights in this fight. He has not put punches together as well. He has not punched with the power he showed us earlier.
Wallow criticizing Whitaker a little bit there if you didn't hear it. Not as good as his earlier fights. I'm not seeing that at all. I think Whitaker's fighting a perfect fight. I mean, he's fighting a guy with a lot of experience, so he's not going to be as free and reckless against some of the prior competition in those 7 fights. Look at that power left hand he just landed. I mean, he's winning every second of every round. How could you not be impressed? And he's doing it boxing beautifully.
Montez feigning with the left and coming across to the right, but Whitaker blocked it.
Picked it off cleanly with the glove. Less than 30 seconds to go in round 6. More and more it appears that Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker may get his first 10-round experience today. But through round 6, Whitaker appears to remain in control this bout with John Montez.
Okay, we're in the 7th round. We saw a little bit of showboating there from Pernell. Obviously, he did quite a bit of that in his career. A little shuffling of the feet. Whitaker now backing up and using some lateral movement a little bit more. Now he settles down a little bit, looking for more power shots, but Montez seems a little bit more desperate, so I think that's why Whitaker is staying away a little bit more. He senses that Montez is trying to step it up, throwing more caution to the wind, if you will. When you got a Georgie Benton in your corner, you got to know what to do in such situations. He's letting Montez lead now and get some effective work off the ropes. Gets out of the way. Now things settled down a little bit, and Whitaker's able to come forward a little bit more. Now backs up, bouncing a little bit on his toes. Now he has Montez on the ropes again. Montez comes back with some solid effort. Not sure it landed all that well, but some solid effort to stop the Whitaker locomotive train, if you will. Montez is a little bit more effective with that punch, but look at that. Look at the leather he's eating now. It's only so much success you could have, and Whitaker bends down. Not many people could do a move such as that and not get clobbered. Don't let that get overlooked. Most people would try that, they would get counted and probably dropped on their butt. I love this fight because I think you get to see every wrinkle of Whitaker at an early stage. 8th pro fight, first 10 rounder, fighting well above his years of experience, I think.
We come toward the end of round 7. The bout has settled into a fairly even competitive flow for the moment.
I don't think it's even a competitive at all, but okay, Mr. Lampley. Perhaps in terms of effort, it's even and competitive, but in terms of who's the boss in the boxing ring, who's winning all the elements of scoring of a boxing round, it's not even or competitive at all.
He wants him to be a little bit more businesslike in there. A little bit too much showboating in that last round. And Pernell agreed. He said, yeah, a little too much. I've always felt that Pernell Whitaker robbed himself.
Montez is, again, moving more aggressively forward. But Whitaker always gives him something to think about as he's coming in. Whether he's backing up or moving forward, Whitaker's always firing and landing. There we see some of the defensive wizardry of Whitaker. Now he gets set back in the pocket. From round 6 on, you see a little bit more of Whitaker using the real estate of the ring, and that's, I think, because he sensed Montez being a little bit more desperate, or a lot more desperate here in this 8th round especially. He knows he's got to be way behind, and what chance does he have to win to land some hard shots?
Thus far in the bout, Alex Wallow, I personally see Whitaker having won 6 of the 7 previous rounds, call one of them even, or perhaps give it to John Montez. You agree?
Whitaker's pitching a real a wide shutout, Lampley. Not sure what you're talking about. And every once in a while, he'll lead with a right hook, as we saw there. There's another one, but it missed. There's another one. Going back to the jab now, but backing up.
And in the latter half of the fight, he showed Montez a lot more respect.
He's boxing Montez's ears off. Look at that.
Best combination of the fight right there by Whitaker. 2 right jabs and the left. Montez continues to be the aggressor, but there's no effective aggression. He's just not landing punches. He just can't find the range.
Hold it.
Sled on it.
Oftentimes, when a right-handed fighter faces a left-hander, the two will get their feet tangled up, and that appeared to be what happened there. Pernell Whitaker Still cruising toward
Take another clear Whitaker round. I can't see how you could even suggest that was an even round or a Montez round, and here we are in round 9.
in the 8th bout of Olympic gold medalist Pernell Whitaker's brief
And not a whole lot of holding in this fight. There's a brief clinch.
6 rounds almost a year ago.
Whitaker's certainly keeping up with his work rate every round, using every inch of the ring in the second half of the fight. And he looks as fresh as a daisy. Doesn't look tired at all. Work rate slowing down in this round. But he's still winning. He's still controlling the major aspects of scoring. Defense, ring generalship. All Whitaker.
Just joined us. In the 8 preceding rounds, Whitaker appears to have won at least 7 of them. Perhaps even pitching a shutout to this point.
John Montez is still searching for his rhythm. He just has not been able to get into this.
Sometimes you hear about guys taking rounds off. And in terms of punch output, Whitaker's definitely taking a round off compared to the previous punches. And now he's letting it go a little bit. Realizing that you can't win a round not throwing any punches, regardless of the Willie Pep mystique.
That's what I thought Montez would do a lot more of, Jim. Trying to bull Whitaker, trying to throw him out of his rhythm. Hasn't sustained it at all. There's Whitaker with his right hand down by his knee.
Whitaker's just a different level. You're not going to be able to bull him, no matter how hard you try.
Really hasn't thrown it.
The Whitaker corner will not be at all disappointed if their man has to go 10 full rounds here. There are some things to learn about Sweet Pea, and they thought that it would be a good experience for him to have a tough fight this stage.
Come on now, let's try it slow. Let's go. Keep him up. Keep him up.
I mean, getting 10 rounds against a guy with as many fights as Montez has in the 8th pro fight is certainly solid matchmaking. Certainly beneficial to the growth of Whitaker.
Ability to go 10, 12, and 15 rounds and their chins. Whitaker seems able to go the 10 rounds here quite easily. Unfortunately, for the excitement that does not exist in this fight, he hasn't had his chin tested, which we thought he might.
Probably the slowest round of the fight, round 9, but a Whitaker round nonetheless. One more to go.
Whitaker continues to score. He easily leads the fight versus Montez. He will return on March 23rd on ABC's Budweiser Professional Boxing Series with an exciting heavyweight contest between undefeated Terrell Biggs and veteran Jeff Sims in 2 weeks live from Reno, Nevada at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central and Pacific here on ABC Sports. Right now, let's go to the corner of Pernell Whitaker.
All right? Coming up. We'll touch strong. Listen, don't get careless with this guy because this guy's desperate, right?
Coming up next, another early Pernell Whitaker fight against another veteran, Alfredo Lane.
You don't win the fight. You don't win the fight. You're there, you jab, boom, boom, boom. Right? Okay, let me see that. Let's see that jabbing. All right, get right close to him, okay? Come on, we got the fight now. Let's go. All right, let's win the fight.
This fight took place on March 9th, 1986. The veteran John Montez knows he's lost pretty much every round if he's realistic about things. How does he come out in round 10? What can he do differently that he hasn't been able to do in the first 9 rounds? How does Whitaker sit on his lead? Let's see how it plays out.
Sweet Pea Whitaker gets when he fights in his hometown area. Sweet Pea, Sweet Pea, Sweet Pea.
Whitaker is not really throwing any punches at this point, but focusing on getting out of the way of Montez's desperation.
Attempting to respond to the situation.
Clear defensive posture for Whitaker now.
Sweet Pea Whitaker, he just feinted with his left hand. He is not throwing his left hand just in there as frequently as we're used to seeing him. Not putting it together in combination as effectively. effectively or as much as we're used to? You see him there holding back with it? He may have injured it at some point in this fight.
He did throw it quite liberally in the first 2 rounds and scored heavily.
Whitaker had many instances where he has broken that left hand. Brittle hands. Probably the only weakness of his whole career. His hands couldn't hold up a lot of times.
Family affair for Pernell Whitaker. Here just across the James River from his hometown of Norfolk. There is Pernell's mother, Novella Whitaker, as she watches from ringside.
She was at every one of Pernell's fights at the sports arena.
And probably why Whitaker is not as aggressive. The hand is clearly bothering him, the left. I don't think there's any question about it.
Again, no left hands at all from Pernell.
Where he was very effective with the left hand early. You wonder at what point did he hurt it. Had it be in the last few rounds.
There he goes. And that prompts Whitaker to go ahead and release the left.
One factor in John Montez's disappointing performance.
If there was a round for Montez, it would be this last round. There's the left.
I don't think he'll ever fight as a lightweight again. He may have to be a full 140-pounder or junior welter.
Montez paused in the middle of that.
Whitaker backing up. This is not what we saw from Whitaker early in the fight.
15 seconds to go. And Pernell Whitaker will, for the first time in his professional career,
Very similar to guys like Jeff Fennick, Floyd Mayweather Jr., some of the greatest fighters who ever lived, with the brittle hands, tender hands. As you see, the left's clearly bothering him. But another classic performance in the books.
and appearing to easily control his opponent from Los Angeles, John Montez. We'll be back with the decision right after. We are back now in Hampton, Virginia, and quickly now let's go to ring announcer Ross McCallum for the decision in this bout.
The winner by unanimous decision, Pernell Whitaker.
No reading of the scorecards there. Unanimous decision, no surprise to any.
By the 3 judges, 100-91, 100-92, 99-90. Under 10-point must system, Pernell Whitaker completely
Well,
dominated.
Lampley just gave you the cards. 2 of the 3 cards he pitched the shutout. The other card they gave Montez a round, probably that last round.
I think my hand is pretty much bad. It looks like it's fractured a little bit. I heard it in the 4th round, so I couldn't really throw my left hand with any authority. But you know, I was in tremendous shape and I was able to box. And going to 10 rounds is really what I needed to do. So now I feel good about myself, and I know I can go 15 or 12 rounds.
What is this hand? I guess you really don't know until you test the hand what it's going to do to your timetable.
Well, you know, everything. If there's no break there, we're ready to fight. Pete's in tremendous condition. He went 10 tough rounds with a good fighter out there. I mean, I'm proud of Pete what he did today. He couldn't open up the way he could. He didn't want to take no chances as I stand. We told him to box, win the decision. Don't worry about the knockout.
Lou, let me just talk to John Montez, the loser here. John, what do you think of Pernell Whitaker? How do you rate him?
I rate him. He's ready for the top 10. You know, he's a good boxer, hard to hit. But, you know, I say as he goes on, he'll get more experience, and I know he wants Camacho, so good luck to him, okay?
Thank you, John. Thank you. Good luck. Thank you. Pete, you're in considerable pain even now with the hand.
Well, I feel pretty bad now. It's sore, and I want to get back and get it treated. And I hope it's not broke. But
Look how big the hand looks. It's ballooned up.
And I told the corner, but I know I felt tremendous. I was in good shape, and I was able to use my right hand and use my movement.
Thanks very much.
He wanted to open up with Alex. We told him, go out there, win the decision. He can always knock anybody out.
Thanks, Lou.
Not worried about knockout.
Good luck down the road. Hope it isn't broken. Now to Jim Lampley at ringside.
Yeah. All right, so now with all fight fans, we'll follow the progress of Pernell Whitaker and his perhaps injured hand as his lightweight career continues. This ABC Sports exclusive, #1 challenge.
Alrighty, so we're gonna take a quick break and we're gonna fire up the next Pernell Whitaker fight momentarily. We'll be back soon. Alrighty, we are back live here on Zoot Sports Talk where we're giving you some vintage boxing straight up with no twists. Our featured fighter of this afternoon is Pernell Sweepy Whitaker. We heard a little clip of an interview I did with Pernell back in 2018. Then we watched his 8th pro fight against John Montez, the first time Pernell was scheduled to go 10 rounds, and the fight did go the 10-round distance. Now we're going to watch another early Whitaker showdown against another veteran in Mr. Alfredo Lane. Uh, this was 2 fights after the Montez fight, so we'll get that fired up for you shortly. Remember to follow us. Follow Zoot's Sports Talk as I prepare for this fight to start up. Let's get that going. So that fight will be shown to you momentarily. So I have a special prize, your choice for the 25th follower, Russell Westbrook Chase variant figure. Only 1,000 of these were made. This is 922 of 1,000. Or for our boxing fans, and since we're featuring the great lightweight Whitaker, is another great lightweight champion, Roberto Duran. I am Duran. Copy of his book for the 25th follower. So if you're watching this and it's not live, you can still become a follower of the show. And remember, Zoot Sports Talk is also on Facebook and on Twitter. So here we go with our second fight of the afternoon. Pernell Whitaker against Alfredo Lane. Here we go, another ABC Wild World of Sports.
Have gone home for the holidays, but nevertheless there is electricity and
Let's get it
excitement in the
going.
scope. as we get ready once again for the live bout between Pernell Whitaker and Alfredo Lane. Alex, how do you see it?
Well, you heard Lou Dubas say earlier, he wants his fighter to go back to the style that was so impressive early in his pro career. That means that Sweet Pea has to be elusive. He has to pick his shots better. He has to work behind the jab. He has to do those things that meant hitting and not being hit. I think that from Alfredo Lane's point of view, he's got to try to disrupt Pernell with two-fisted aggression. He's going to take punishment to stay in punching range. And the question for Lane, I think, is how well he can sustain the pace, because he wings very hard punches with both hands, and if he misses, that can be exhausting.
There's a good look at Lane as now the two fighters get ready to go to the center of the ring and take instructions from referee Al Rothenberg. Very quickly, the rules in the state
Alfredo Lane's been in there with the likes of Alfredo Gomez. And watch Duva. We all know Duva's passion and involvement. Watch what he does now.
Toward the 3 knockdown rule. There's referee Al Rothenberg, who gets ready to brief Pernell Whitaker and Alfredo Lane. Quick look at the tail of
He's talking to Lane and Lane's people about watching the head. Going into this fight, they were very concerned about Alfredo Lane being a bulldog, Billy Goat, so to speak. The Sean Porter of his day, leading with his head. And there we see another reason why Whitaker was so great. Look at that reach compared to his height. Whitaker's reach not in keeping with a guy his height. Lane has the advantage in the height, but not much in the reach advantage. And watching these early fights of Pernell, I just love it because we see the different wrinkles of him. Watch how effective he is in the pocket early in this one.
After having defeated Wilfredo Gomez to win it. And as you can see, and we remind you, Whitaker is a southpaw, jabs with the right hand, looks for power punching from the left, which was broken in March.
Right in front of Lane.
Lane says that the fact that Whitaker is a southpaw does not bother him. He says
in the pocket, closing the distance, but still keeping his defensive prowess. Look at those shots early. Making Lane miss.
I think the main thing that'll bother him will be Pernell Whitaker's ability.
Pouring with the jab, trying to find something. Knows Lane is dangerous, but still wants to stand right in front of him and establish some offense. Now watch his feet as he cuts off the ring. As he closes the distance. Has a good left. Lane trying to come forward. Whitaker making him think about it. There's another good shot. Hard shots. Look at that. Whitaker doesn't get enough credit for being a solid offensive two-handed fighter. He's much more than a defensive wizard.
The 9th round stoppage in San Juan. Gomez, of course, is.
And remember, in the fight we saw with Montes, he hurt that left hand and couldn't use it towards the end of the fight. Montes' fight took place March 9th, 1986. This fight with Lane is December 20th, 1986. So very busy 1986 for Mr. Whitaker. In total, he had 1, 2, 3, 4. He had 4 fights in 1986. This being December of 86 would be his last fight in that year. Look at him. Now he's showing how good an in-fighter he was.
He really hasn't tried to do anything either offensively or defensively.
There he is delivering punishing fights at range. Punching punches rather at range.
Coming to a close, a round in which Whitaker has not been constrained to show much of the vaunted footwork as he has fired away at a stationary Alfredo Lane.
Another hard left.
holiday greetings from Budweiser.
And this is a veteran guy, Alfredo Lane. Going into this fight, Lane had 20 fights, and he'd been in there with the likes of Wilfredo Gomez, Brian Mitchell.
Of everything this holiday season.
Push it. Pull it. Stretch it. Strain it. But when you
Again, one of those matchmaker, solid matchmaking. A guy like Lane, a guy you're supposed to beat, but has experience and can be dangerous. An opportunity for a guy like Whitaker to get the experience and show the different wrinkles in his game.
Round one was easily dominated by Whitaker.
Here we go, round two. Good lead left by Pernell. Establishing the jab. Lane trying to come back. Missing.
Rovanda Whitaker, mother of Pernell Whitaker Jr., looking on from ringside.
Again, Whitaker right in front of a dangerous fighter, an aggressive fighter, but not getting hit and landing his own punches with both hands. Not on his bicycle, but coming forward. Not showcasing lateral movement, but coming forward. Boxing, but coming forward.
Whitaker scoring well. Lane not even trying to score.
Not showing much movement in his previous bouts, Alex. He seemed to like to move forward.
Nice little right hook to the body there, switching things up.
Has maintained the initiative.
Lane tries to go to the body. Whitaker fires right back.
I'll tell you this about Alfredo.
Now left to the body.
To be effective, he cannot back up at all. Throughout his amateur career, Pernell Whitaker was a retreating counterpuncher. But when he turned professionally, he seemed to have made.
And you see, one of the things that they were worried about was the Billy Goat aggression of Lane with the head. So you see him coming forward, Pernell, a little bit to try and negate the oncoming rushes with the head, leading with the head that they were probably worried about.
Right-handed fighter situations.
Don't let Lane be comfortable in what he does well. I'm sure Georgie Benton and Lou Duba were working on that, and we see the early success of that strategy.
Good left hand by Pernell. One thing Pernell has always done well is to keep his right foot outside his opponent's foot, so he stays away from his opponent's power.
There's a nice power shot by Pernell. Lane definitely felt that. Going to the body again. I could watch this guy all day. I don't know about you.
It's interesting to see how a fighter responds to having been knocked out for the first time. Alfredo Lane was knocked out and losing his title, and right now he just isn't making any kind of a move to be in this fight at all.
And the first two rounds have been entirely the province of Pernell Whitaker.
All Whitaker, no doubt about it. And in this fight, we do see more of the commercials that were had on ABC in 1986. I always love watching those old commercials. But some fights have them, some fights they're edited out. Whitaker starting this round aggressive again, coming forward. He could pretty much do anything he wants against Lane at this point. Not letting Lane be aggressive. He's the aggressor.
Almost caught a right hand from Pernell. I thought he did catch it. Yeah, he was trying to get in to warn Lane about holding behind the head.
You saw the score, incidentally, of the NFL game played earlier today. The New York Giants clinching the home field advantage through the playoffs in the National Football Conference. with a 55-24 victory over Green Bay.
And the Giants went on to win the Super Bowl that year. So home field advantage in the playoffs certainly helped them.
Behind the head. Right now, he's a fighter who needs to do something
And
different.
Whitaker was always great when he had home field advantage fighting in Virginia.
Hard to imagine what Lane was thinking in the first 2 rounds. He appears to have entered this fight with no specific plan for fighting Pernell Whitaker. He told us
And there we see the first instance of the head coming into play.
Lane. He came in saying his plan was just to go
Whitaker still comes forward. Probably the best way to negate that leading with the head is to be aggressive, and we've seen that in the first 3 rounds.
Whitaker not afraid to step into the corner and mix it with Lane.
You don't want to have Lane be comfortable in what he likes to do, and fighting this way is not what Lane likes to do.
As is always the case when one of the main event stable of ex-Olympic fighters is boxing, some of the teammates looking on. That's Evander Holyfield in the shades. Mark Breland just to Holyfield's right. Shelly Finkel, co-manager of...
I always wondered, is it Holyfield or is it Holyfield? Or is it a potato type thing, or tomato? Supposed to be potato, but tomato is a choice. Holyfield or Holyfield? I don't. I do know we're watching a pugilist at the highest level you could possibly get to.
Begins to look a little quicker.
Al Rothenberg looked to me like that was his last caution. If he does it again...
Only thing missing from Whitaker's repertoire was devastating punching power. He didn't have that, but he is doing very well in landing power punches here, no doubt about that.
Landed 4 left, flush on Alfredo Lane's face in the closing stages of this round.
Now he backs off a little bit, but another clear round for Pernell.
Well, the crowd in the scope, some of them Pernell Whitaker's...
Let's see how aggressive Whitaker is in this round. First 3 rounds, all Pernell. A lot of good offensive action, although it's all one-sided.
And has won all 3 rounds easily.
Lane trying to be a little bit more aggressive and opening up at the start of this round, but Whitaker just doesn't give him a chance to get set. And there we go with the head again. Brief tie-up.
Lane did back Pernell up and landed some punches to the body, but at the end of the round, or right after the bell, Pernell spun off the ropes and showed that
Whitaker active behind the jab. Looking for that left.
It is to some degree a mark of how deep this division is, as Al Rothenberg once again talks to Lane.
There's a low blow.
Bad low blow.
When things are not going your way, hit them in the jewels. We see that a lot in boxing.
You remember a countryman of Alfredo Lane's, Eusebio Pedroza, who was famous for taking everything the referee would give him. He would foul you in every way imaginable if the referee let him. It's going to be up to Al Rothenberg here with Lane to take some points away. There was another low blow.
A little bit more aggression from Lane, but Whitaker shows that he can land punches backing up too.
And threaten to disqualify him before Lane will stop. It's also going to be important for Whitaker to maintain his concentration. You saw him there drop his hands to his sides and begin showboating. He is angry about the low blows, but he can't allow them to take him out of his plan, which was to box.
Well,
as Lane again with the head.
He did make Lane miss badly, lunge and lean with 2 punches.
Leading with the head again. Whitaker gets out of the way, tries to fire back. And we see Whitaker realizes that aggression moving forward is the best way to neutralize
I was going to say it's a mark of how deep
the danger of headbutts.
That Whitaker is ranked number 13 by the WBC, unranked by the WBA, which only ranks 10, and ranked number 8 by the International Boxing Federation. He is not yet close to a title bout.
I mean, even back in 1986, you see the joke that the WBA is. How did they not have Whitaker in the top 10 of the lightweights? And somehow, all these years later, the WBA is still around. I don't get it.
Saw the caginess of Whitaker there as he slipped 2 punches to land one of his own.
Another clear round for Whitaker, in my opinion.
Live in round 4, but Whitaker still in control.
Lane tries to get a good body shot in, a punch after the bell. Whitaker doesn't like it. Not backing up. Referee has his hands full. Here comes Duva. Duva just wants to get Whitaker back into the corner.
You saw the action there at the bell. Whitaker threw a punch a split second after the bell, and Lane retaliated well after the bell. It looks to me like Pernell Whitaker's mouth is bleeding.
Solid triangle of a corner there. Benton, Duva, and Ace Murata. The cut man.
Have your hands up good night now. You're swinging from the gate now. Yeah, that's why I got my hands up. They got to be up. Now look, when you're close, use the uppercut. The left uppercut. You'll hit it back, right? Come on. Now look, don't throw it from a distance. Get close when you throw it. Right? Tommy, take this out of here, Tommy. Now, good left hand. Hey, come on, hold him up there and bang to that ribs. Come on.
I mean, you got to be a solid, polished boxer to deal with the kind of style that's Alfredo Lane.
Bang him to the ribs. The parting words in the Lane corner were the very same thing. Work him downstairs. They both want body punches.
Whitaker obviously angry, but still not forgetting he's the boss. Letting his hands go, but trying to keep his composure. There's a nice couple of jabs there. Trying to control the distance. Cutting off the ring a little bit, but this Lane standing his ground a little bit more here. So that's forcing Whitaker to fire some more shots, as you see. Good left by Whitaker. Now Whitaker's backing him up.
A little bit of an awkward. There's a low blow at Pernell, and he was warned by Rothenberg. Lane waves him in. Lane is just a difficult opponent for Pernell. He's easy to hit in the way, but he's awkward. He throws wild punches, winging punches, and Pernell just...
Lane's coming forward. He's not going to back away from a fight. That's his business.
Another low blow by Pernell.
A lot of firing here.
We warn our local stations there will be a station break coming up.
There's Whitaker. You know, the idea that Whitaker cannot get into a fight and be dominant is just not true. We're seeing it right here. Against the guy who outslugged Wilfredo Gomez. I don't care if it was a little bit of a longer in the tooth Wilfredo Gomez. Still, you're not beating Wilfredo Gomez at his own game if you don't know what you're doing. If you're not effective in that style. Whitaker tried a wild left there, didn't pay for it. That was a good opportunity for Lane to encounter, and he couldn't do it. There's a good left by Whitaker. Whitaker on the ropes, delivering power shots. There's the hand speed. Good action in this round. Lane coming forward again. Lane winging some shots. Whitaker being aggressive as well, not utilizing his great legs in terms of getting out of harm's way. He wants to deliver in the pocket as well.
Slenderizer's Granite City, styles and delights.
Fun round.
This year, make your holidays brighter by remembering the forgotten children of Christmas.
The Channel 2 News Weekend Report with Don Johnson and Catherine
We said this
Bliss.
fight took place in December of 86, rather, December of 86. So.
And the awkward Alfredo Lane has bothered him to a certain degree with
See some Christmas commercials.
in the 3 intervening rounds. Now we go to round 6.
It's Lane trying a wild shot. Whitaker blocked it. Whitaker trying to get his jab going again. Good job coming forward by Whitaker behind the jab now. Trying to negate the wild stuff that we saw in the last round, but here goes Whitaker again at distance, going toe-to-toe.
Wars here with Lane as he just did, standing straight in front of him. He has a superior hand speed. He has a superior boxing ability. He should be using that, working from side to side, not straight in front of his man.
But again, I gotta think this forward style. There we see another hard shot to the body, hard left. This forward aggressive style in the pocket that Whitaker's fighting is the best approach for a guy like Lane, because he can't come forward and lead with that head and do what he likes to do. And Whitaker is still keeping his defense as best as you can in the pocket. Now we see a little bit of the movement. And here comes Lane forward, leading with the head again. Lane tries a jab. Up until this point, a jab has been a perfect stranger to Lane, but he tried one there.
See, he made Lane miss easily there, but he had nothing coming back. He didn't counterpunch. Made him miss, did not make him pay. Had his man on the rope.
More infighting from Whitaker. See how good an infighter he is, but didn't really land much there. But he got the job done in terms of backing Lane off him. Whitaker trying to get the jab going again as he closes range. Whitaker scoring again to close out the round. Big left hand.
Nevertheless, Whitaker continues to control the bout as we come to the end of round 6.
The leader in
round 7 in Norfolk. We remind you that we'll be returning to Indianapolis for the continuation of America on Ice, including a special tribute to the 1961 United States figure skating team a little later. But now, Pernell Whitaker.
Round 7 starts off hot with a lot of leather being thrown.
George Benton told Pernell between rounds, this round.
There we see Whitaker getting the better of the exchanges inside, using both hands. Right in there with Lane. There goes a good left. Solid shots to the body. Whitaker's the boss. Lane's not even throwing at this point.
Crowd trying to pick Whitaker up.
Tremendous offense by Whitaker against an offensive fighter, against a dirty fighter. Nice uppercut.
Whitaker's not landing everything, but right now it's just target practice.
Big round for Pernell, all in the telephone booth.
But he's absorbing a lot of punishment while he's doing that.
Lane finally throws something in return. Whitaker gets out of the way.
You must remember again, this is
now Lane trying to be aggressive.
You have to get used to the difference in your reflexes. The difference in your opponent's
little hand speed there by Whitaker.
Power and speed. Blood now trickling from the lips of Alfredo Lane as Whitaker is having a big round in round 7.
More dominance from Pernell. Punches landing. Defense not being compromised as he's coming forward and being aggressive.
Have no sting from Lane. He is offering only token resistance at this point.
Scoring from range now.
But Pernell has slowed down.
Closing the gap. Back inside.
Not doing what he should be doing.
Making Lane miss as he's right in front of him.
There's no reason to stand in there and trade with his man.
Hard shots.
Made his man miss. Made him miss again. Now come back with punches. That's it.
Hard shots again. Dominant round by Whitaker. Beautiful round by Whitaker. All offense. and not sacrificing defense.
Lane does not appear
In my opinion, the best lightweight ever. Best one I ever seen anyway.
So round 7 has reestablished this as clearly Whitaker's fight.
This Bud's for all that you do.
They said this city was through. You said, no way.
Each day the spirit's growing.
We begin round 8 in Norfolk in the yellow trunks. That is Pernell Whitaker. In the striped trunks, Alfredo Lane. Whitaker on at least one unofficial scorecard has won all 7 previous rounds.
That was a tremendous round by Whitaker. Again, just like with the Montez fight, I don't think he's lost a round.
Whitaker has 6 knockouts, but each
A lot more excitement and action in this fight, I think, than even in Montez's fight. Look how good an offensive fighter Whitaker can be.
Alfredo Lane
He could be aggressive.
A curiously passive fight. I just don't understand what he's thinking about. He knows he has to go to knockout at this point to win the fight. And yet he's not letting his hands go. He's just sitting there taking punches.
That's, to me, one of the most impressive things of the sweet science, being able to close distance, land hard combinations in the pocket, and still have at least average defense, if not above average defense. And we're seeing above average defense while still in the aggressive posture. Whitaker tried a little dirty play there with the gloves. And you could say he spins the Lane around. He's really trying to land hard stuff on him this entire fight, and he succeeded. But Lane hasn't come close to getting knocked down or even really seriously wobbled. A little shook up, especially in that last round, but never seriously wobbled.
He has never been in this fight, Alfredo.
And that's the one thing that Whitaker lacked. Although he has some impressive knockouts, not the big power puncher, even when he's landing power shots. I guess you can't have it all, right? Now he's letting Lane lead, but not really being successful. Gives him a jab to think about what he's going to do. Now we see a little showboating. This is the cutesy Whitaker that I think the narrative
but I can assure you that the corner of Pernell Whitaker did not
about him is more apparent.
A little bit of Pernell's frustration. He has not been able to do everything he wanted to do in the ring. He wants to be impressive. He wants to be sensational.
He's letting Lang chase him now.
And right now, that
Lane, I should say.
All that's left to him. And you have to
but Lane really can't get anything solid off as he's trying to chase down this great legend.
The fight on all 3 judges' cards. So we'll see what happens in 2 more rounds.
There was a dangerous moment that could have cost Whitaker with the head.
Place you'd want to be with a cold, unless you're the Green Bay Packer backers. So we asked them to try Alka-Seltzer Plus cold medicine.
Round 9 begins. Here is what Lou Duva said to Pernell Whitaker between rounds.
Using that jab, right, and go to those ribs. Come on, baby. All right, get slick on the solid. I'm saying, but go away from his right hand and get slick, okay? He's leaning right in. You can't do that.
Alex, to the degree that there are questions now about Whitaker's progress, they are the result of his last 2 fights against Rafael Williams and Rafael Gandaria. Is this a significant step forward for him?
Well, if it's a step forward, it's a very small step, I think. He has taken on an awkward opponent, but an opponent who really didn't offer too much in opposition. He has not lost a round, in my opinion, as he only lost 1 round against Williams and Gandaria. But I don't think he has yet recaptured the form that he had before his 2 injuries. As you saw right there, missing badly with 2 punches.
Allowing himself to get off balance, lunging. Making a variety of errors which you just don't associate with the kind of brilliance he showed as an amateur.
And errors that he can get away with an Alfredo Lane, who isn't doing anything in his opposition, but he won't get away with when he steps up You won't get away with this kind of form when he steps up to fight the true world-class fighters in the lightweight division.
Of course he will. And of course he did.
I'd like to alert our local stations along the line that at the end of this round, we'll be taking a station break.
And similar to the Montes fight that we watched earlier, later in the rounds,
I want to make one other thing clear. It's not, to me, disappointing.
Whitaker not as aggressive.
It doesn't look like he's going to be able to.
At least not so far in this round.
He can take a man out when he has him hurt, or he showed the ability to do previously in his career, but he doesn't go looking for a knockout, or has not previously in his career. It's just that the effectiveness of the
Letting Lane coming forward, not really firing as much. There's the jab. There's some shots to let Lane in. Now he's getting busy.
Then he comes in and he's pity-patting. He's pushing his punches.
Just a little something to let Lane know, hey, I'm letting you come forward when I want to. Your ass is on the ropes.
As Lane plods around the ring, occasionally throwing a wild punch.
As Greg Haugen said when I talked to him about fighting Whitaker, it's just a nightmare.
But otherwise, not really being competitive. Good left by Whitaker.
We must give credit for one thing to Alfredo Lane. He does have heart. In the sense, not
Whitaker landing a lot of punches in the last minute of this round to make you think about how they were going to score it. Before that last minute, I thought Lane was on his way to finally winning a round. Now I'm not so sure.
Station break coming up now.
Here's your car.
Especially the way the judges remember the last part of a round much more than the early parts of the round.
Davis, Panama. My name is
Traditionally, anyway.
Fiasco, and I want to wish all my family and friends a happy holidays in St. Louis, especially my niece and nephew, Corey and Brett Reeds. Happy holidays.
Season greeting in Missouri. I'm Private Moore stationed in West Germany, and I'd like to say hello to my mother and father and wish them a Merry Christmas. And please, Mom, send a visa. I need it.
This year, help us remember the forgotten children of Christmas.
Final round in the Norfolk scope between
I guess we're going to forget them.
All
right, here we go, round 10. Lane's got to know he needs a knockout to win.
Here again, between corners.
Up till now, Whitaker's done a good job of neutralizing the Billy Goat. Let's see how we finish.
Nice defense. Come on. This is it now.
Don't let him get near you. You understand?
You just saw something happen during that soundbite when Whitaker went
See
down
Whitaker.
and touched the floor. Williams reacted thinking he scored a knockdown. And any time a fight, anything other than the soles of a fighter's feet touch the floor, it should be a knockdown. I meant to say Lane. I said Williams.
Freudian slip because Raphael Williams is the one man who did knock Pernell Whitaker down in the fourth round of their fight.
And is a countryman of Alfredo Lane's. Al Rothenberg did not call it a knockdown. He just brushed off Pernell Whitaker's.
Whitaker. Exclusive jabs right now.
So you know now that Whitaker wants to
listening to Benton. That's what Benton wanted him to do. Keep the jab going. Now we get a little close for comfort. Whitaker's obviously well versed in fighting in close. That's not what the corner wants him to do at this point. There's the jabs again. It's a hard right hook lead. But for a guy who needs a knockout to win, Lane is not that busy.
Final minute of the fight, and there's just a sameness to the action throughout not only this round, but
it's easy for us to say he should be busier with what's in front of him. Look at those jabs. And now you could go back up and get on the bike.
Just not offering any real opposition.
Will this do anything to improve Whitaker's status in the lightweight division?
There's another big miss. Whitaker now really feeling it in terms of being the showman, the Whitaker showman. We saw Whitaker the aggressor for a lot of this fight. Now we're seeing Whitaker the showman. Now he's trying to close the end of the round, landing hard shots.
But I don't think he's shown anything in this fight that's going to strike fear in the hearts of the three champions.
Nevertheless, he may have won all 10 rounds against an experienced and highly
Alex Wallow not impressed.
opponent. And now Whitaker showboats as the fight comes to a close.
Not sure what he was looking for, but he just hurt him. None of the three champions. Well, let's hear this.
To 90. And judge number 3 scores 99 to 91. The winner by a unanimous decision. And
Another situation where Whitaker almost got himself a clear shutout. Lost one round on one card. Another unanimous decision victory for Whitaker, where he was very aggressive and, in my opinion, very impressive. Again, you see the size difference.
Oh, that was a hell of a performance from him. I mean, I did everything I wanted to do. I heard him, I boxed tremendously, and I showed good defense.
Let me tell you my reaction. I thought it showed an improvement, but I thought you still were not as sharp as you would like to be, and not as slick as Lou wanted you to be for this
I
fight.
want to be slick, but Al, I was concerned about his head. Look at the tape, and you'll see the way he keeps bending over with his head. 4 fights he fought. The last 4 fights I seen him fight, he got disqualified in 2 fights. I couldn't take a chance on the head.
Thank you, Lou. Congratulations, Pete. Back to Jim Lampley.
All right, he's 11-0. Now we'll return to Indianapolis for the continuation of America on Ice.
All right, so there you have it. Pernell, Sweepy, Whitaker, 2 of his big fights before his championship days. His first fight that was scheduled for the 10-round distance against John Montes. 2 fights where he went 10 rounds and, in my opinion, didn't lose a round. 20 clean rounds in the Pernell Whitaker column. Just great stuff there. So thank you all for joining us, and check out that top ranked card tonight. There's some good boxing action starting on ESPN Plus and then ESPN at 10 o'clock. Should be some fun fights, especially the main event. I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a good one. That super featherweight eliminator. But we'll be back. Figure out who. I'm thinking I'm showcasing Marvin Johnson next. We'll see. But until then, thank you for coming by, and Zoot